Today on the Kaye Liautaud Show, I will be sharing with you all my Canadian experience here in Toronto, Canada. I was just an 8-hour drive away from Canada, coming from New York. And I was telling my friends when I get to Canada, I want to try something really Canadian. And for me, that is going to be to try poutine. It's a dish made of French fries, topped with gravy and cheese curds. And when I told my friends about it, they said that sounds absolutely disgusting. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know, but I think it's gonna be delicious because I was watching old episodes of Degrassi. And if you watch Degrassi back in the day, in a couple of episodes, the kids were saying, oh, we're gonna have some poutine at the Dot after school. So if you know about the Dot on Degrassi. And later on, I will take you to the top of the CN Tower. I found Cause Space in Toronto, Canada, and I'm here with Kevin Allwood, and he's going to tell us about his space, Cause Space. So Kevin, welcome. It's good to have you. Thank you for having me in your space. Tell us about your space.
Cause Space is very much centered around food, health, holistic living, and wellness, married with fashion, art, and design. So it's like, what is that, right? But it's literally just being able to create a space that takes care of you from the inside, the outside, and the mind.
So being creative from the inside out of the art, fashion, design, and coffee and wellness, what's your first love?
Well, it's actually been a journey. Mm-hmm. So the first love was math.
Really?
Yeah, because I studied computer hardware engineering.
Okay.
And then from that, it made me get into design because I started seeing everything differently because of architecture in the context of engineering. So then I started sewing because I just liked putting things together. So that became design. Then as I was designing, I realized that I had to be the one to do the pictures because I was literally trying to tell another photographer what to do, and it would never be what I saw. So I picked up the camera about 30 years ago, then I started doing photography for myself. So it became photography. Then I realized that we had to tell a story. So then as I communicated to other editors, they were not telling the story. So I'm like, all right, I will tell the story because it's already in my head. So then it became publishing, so the magazine came along. And then as I continued to fashion, I realized that people were buying the clothing, but they were not healthy.
I see.
So then it went into food. Yeah.
And what is the cultural influence behind the food at Cause Space?
The cultural background is taking the food from the Caribbean, mainly Jamaica, because that's where I'm from.
I'm from the Caribbean too.
Right?
I'm from Haiti.
There you go. So we're like sisters, brothers
Yes.
in the same vibe, you know. So taking that and taking it in the context of like the amazing medicinal values that are in the food there, and taking the spices, the seasoning, etc., and making it in a way that it is more plant-based. To tell the truth, very, very plant-based. But we're not trying to go vegan, plant-based, anything. It's just making food.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I love food, and I've taken a look at the menu, and a lot of it looks delicious here.
Yes,
is there a favorite dish that you like to eat or you recommend to your guests?
Well, the interesting thing is a lot of the people that come through here are not plant-based. They just really, as you said, they love food, and they after they've eaten, I usually get this look.
Because they can't believe that it's plant-based. Yeah.
I had a gentleman that is the director of the Hunt Club, which is a private club here in Toronto, and they're not in any way plant-based. He finished his meal, which was a vegan scramble, and he was convinced it was eggs, so he was communicating like he was eating eggs. So his guest said, but that's not eggs.
And what's a vegan egg made out of?
Well, it's not so much that we're trying to create vegan egg, it's a vegan scramble.
Okay.
So in the vegan scramble, we have soft nigari tofu, you have call it nutritional yeast, the red, yellow, green peppers. So it's a concoction of different things together, but it's done in such a way that you release the sugar, you release the glucose, and then you bake it all and it's just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, that sounds really good. I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stop by tomorrow for lunch to try that
Oh,
vegan
yeah,
scramble.
yeah. Well, the thing that you would love actually would be the vegan breakfast sandwich.
And what's inside of that?
That's tempeh bacon,
Okay.
same kind of peppers mixed together, but again, it's got a flavor that is an umami, like that.
Yes.
You know? Yeah,
I've had
yeah,
that,
yeah,
that
yeah,
type of flavor.
Yeah.
So when your customers come into Ka Space, they see wellness products, they see fashion, and they see coffee.
Yes.
What is their reaction like when they first, come into the shop? What's the first thing they typically tend to go for?
Well, you know what's the funniest thing is sometimes we have clients that come in and they come in for a coffee. I've had this so many times. Imagine you coming in for an Americano or a regular coffee and leaving with a piece of art.
Yes,
happens.
you
It
have
happens.
plenty of
Yeah,
artwork
it
here, and
happens.
I've seen your
Yeah.
photography.
So, but they sort to answer your question. They more go
No, please.
go towards the food than the apothecary items. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, food is a very important part of our lives because it brings people together. And if you
100%.
eat right, it can contribute to your health.
It is the only contribution to your health, my love.
I also have a
And the
copy
brain.
of, and the brain as well. Mine is very important to take care of. I also have a copy of Kevin Allwood's magazine here. Where can people find a copy of your magazine or maybe purchase your artwork for those who are in New York or not in Canada?
You can purchase it. You lift up the magazine and so you can show what it is with eyes.
beautiful
right?
cover.
Yeah. You can purchase the magazine once it's released in Barnes and Nobles. You can purchase them in the Indigos. You
Amazing.
can purchase them online through our online site, which is kevinallwood.com, and that kind of vibe. Yeah.
And can we find you on social media as well?
Yes. I'm Kevin Allwood. Instagram is just Kevin Allwood.
Okay.
The Ka Space is, I think it's Ka Cafe TO.
Okay.
And then there's Allwood Market on Instagram. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure the audience is pleased to find out that they can buy a copy of your magazine soon. It's a beautiful copy. I have one myself and I adore it. And Kevin, we hope to see you branch out into other spaces, maybe outside of Canada.
Maybe Brooklyn.
Come to New York, yes, come to our studio in Brooklyn, come to Queens,
What?
Manhattan, the Bronx. We
Yes.
need to have Kevin
Yes.
Allwood.
Yes.
Kevin, it was such a pleasure speaking with you today. I'm Kaye Liautaud with the Kaye Liautaud Show. I'm in front of the CN Tower in Toronto, Canada, and it is cold out here. Canada's cold. This is the Kaye Liautaud Show, and we are here at the CN Tower in Toronto, Canada. And I'm trying my first bowl of poutine. I told you guys I wanted to give it a try. So it's these thick cut French fries with some gravy and cheese curds. So we're gonna give that a try. So the gravy is a nice touch. It's a little salty, but not too salty. The cheese curds are really chewy. It's almost like it has a bit of squeak to it when you bite into it. And the fries are really nice and thick. I like it. It's not bad. It's like mashed potatoes and gravy. If you've ever had shepherd's pie, that's what poutine is. You know what I was thinking about? I was just thinking about my most recent experience in Canada. I had made a visit to Toronto, Canada, and what I remember the most was not wanting to leave. What was it about Canada that made me want to stay there and not come back to New York just yet? I thought, was it the authentic Canadian maple syrup, which is really good, by the way. I strongly recommend Canadian maple syrup. Is it the poutine I had? Or maybe it's the hospitality from the people that I met there. And I think that's what it is. I was well received as an American coming to Canada. I got a few giggles saying, hey, where can I get poutine? Or do you have poutine here because it's a classic dish in Toronto. Everybody knows what that is. But I didn't. And instead of like a laugh where it's like teasing me, it was more of like welcoming me. They were happy to have me in their midst. And so I want you to think about next time you have a visitor come to your hometown or the city that you live in, what can you do to enhance their experience? What can you do to make them feel so welcome that they don't want to leave, even if it's just visiting your house? Thank you for watching today's episode of the Kaye Liautaud Show. You can follow us on social media at the.kayeliautaud.show.